Hey friends, today we are going to continue studying our 3D shapes. We are going to talk about defining and non-defining attributes of 3D shapes. Again, it might be helpful for you to have some of the 3D shapes that we used yesterday around, but I think that you would be able to figure it out if you don't have them. So I'm going to get ready and share my screen with you, and we will start talking about some of those shapes. All right.
Are these all the same kind of 3D shape? Let's find out! How are these shapes alike?
To me, when I look at these shapes, they are all the same type of shape, but they are different colors and different sizes.
They all have 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. How are these shapes different? They are different colors and sizes. They are also in different positions. We define 3D shapes by the shape and number of faces or flat surfaces, and by the number of edges and vertices. How can you define a rectangular prism?
So we know that you can define a rectangular prism by the shape of their flat surface. So what shape is the flat surface of a rectangular prism? A rectangle. How many flat surfaces are on a rectangular prism? How many edges? How many vertices?
It is a shape that has 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. Are all of these shapes rectangular prisms?
Select your answer.
Yes, they are all rectangular prisms because they all have 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. So all 3 of these shapes are rectangular prisms.
Yes, they all have the traits needed for rectangular prisms. Why are these shapes not the same kind of shape?
Are all of these shapes the same? No. They all have different flat surfaces, a different number of vertices. Some of them don't have any vertices, and they all have a different number of edges.
One shape has no flat surfaces. Some have no vertices, and some have no edges. The flat surfaces on one shape are rectangles, and on another are circles. Color does not define shapes. Just because shapes are the same size or color does not mean they are the same. These shapes are all green, but there is a rectangular prism, a sphere, and a cylinder. Color does not define shapes. What is each of these shapes? How do you know?
So we talked about that these shapes are all rectangular prisms, just like my box. We know that they are all rectangular prisms because of how many sides they have, how many edges, and how many vertices. How many faces are on a rectangular prism? 6. They all have 6 faces. How many vertices are there? 8 vertices. They all have 8 vertices. How many edges do they have? They all have 12 edges, so they are all rectangular prisms.
Each of these shapes is a rectangular prism. All of the shapes have 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. Are all of the rectangular prisms facing the same way?
No.
No, they are not all facing the same way. Are all of the rectangular prisms the same size?
No.
No, they are not all the same size. Does size or position determine if the shapes are rectangular prisms?
No. What determines if it's a rectangular prism is the number of faces, the number of vertices, and the number of edges. Size and position do not determine if it is a rectangular prism or not.
No. Color, size, and direction don't define a shape. Some things about these shapes are different, but they are all rectangular prisms.
All right, we are going to do some practice, which it might be a good idea for you guys to have your shapes nearby for this part. So the first one is we are going to talk about cones. I have my ice cream cone. Are both of these cones yellow? No. Color is not a defining feature of a cone. So we would not circle that one. Do all cones have one vertex? Yes. For it to be a cone, it needs to have one vertex. 3D shapes are all closed shapes. So are all cones open shapes? Nope. All cones can roll. So a cone is a shape that can roll. All cones can roll on their side. All right, our cube. All cubes have 12 edges. Is that true or not true? Thumbs up, thumbs down. All cubes have 12 edges. Ooh, I selected red this time. All cubes have 8 vertices. Is that true or not true? True. All cubes cannot roll. Can a cube roll? A cube cannot roll. All cubes are blue. True or not true? Not true. My cube is white and black. All cylinders have 2 flat surfaces. True or not true? True. All cylinders cannot roll. Cylinders can roll, so that is not true. All cylinders are red. True or not true? Not true, because my cylinder is blue and white. All cylinders can roll. True or not true? True. Kevin wants to build a wall. Circle the 3D shape or shapes that he could use to build a wall. So if you wanted to build a wall, would you use a cone? No, that wouldn't make a very good wall. Could you use a cube? A cube would make a pretty good wall if you had a bunch of cubes stacked next to each other. If you had a bunch of rectangular prisms, would you make a good wall with that? I think a bunch of rectangular prisms would make a good wall. How about spheres? If you had a couple of spheres next to each other, would they make a good wall? Not really. That is all the practice for today. Remember to log into pearsonrealize.com and do your quick check and your interactive practice buddy. Again, I recommend having these shapes nearby so that you can kind of touch them as you count the sides and the vertices and the edges. If you need help with these lessons, feel free to reach out to Miss Barnes or myself. Bye, friends.